Today, we're re-diving into something that affects almost all of us. How to end conversations smoothly, without that painful awkwardness we've all experienced. You know that moment when you're trapped in a conversation that's run its course, and you just don't know how to escape without seeming rude, or when you need to leave. But you keep standing there, nodding because you can't find the right moment to say goodbye. Let us break down the psychology behind this, and learn the exact techniques that'll make you a master of graceful exits. First, let's understand why ending conversations feels so awkward in the first place. Our brains are hardwired for social connection and acceptance. When we think about leaving a conversation, we're afraid of two things: being perceived as rude and potentially damaging the relationship. This fear triggers what psychologists call social anxiety, even in people who aren't typically anxious. Your brain interprets ending a conversation as a form of social rejection, which activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. That's why it feels so uncomfortable. But here's the thing. This discomfort is based on a misconception. Most people actually appreciate clear, polite endings to conversations rather than someone who's clearly mentally checked out but still physically present. Now let's talk about the first major technique: the pre-frame. This is where you set expectations from the very beginning of the conversation. When you first start talking to someone, especially in casual settings, mention your time constraint early. Say something like, "Hey, it's great to see you. I've got about 10 minutes before I need to head out, but I wanted to catch up." This does something powerful psychologically. It removes the surprise element when you do leave, and it actually makes the other person feel valued because you chose to spend your limited time with them. They won't feel rejected when you exit because you already established the boundary. The second technique is called the conversation callback. This involves referencing something mentioned earlier in your chat as your exit strategy. For example, if they mentioned they were working on a project or planning to do something later, you can say, "Well, I'll let you get back to that presentation you mentioned," or "I won't keep you any longer since you said you had errands to run." This technique works brilliantly because it shows you are actually listening, and it frames your exit as consideration for them rather than your own desire to leave. You're not abandoning the conversation. You're being respectful of their time and priorities. Here's a psychological insight that'll change everything. The transition statement. Instead of abruptly saying you have to go, use what's called a bridge phrase. These are statements that acknowledge the conversation's value before transitioning to the exit. Try phrases like, "This has been really great," or "I'm so glad we got to talk about this," or "Have I really enjoyed hearing your perspective on this." Pause briefly after these statements, and then follow with your exit line. This two-step process satisfies the social brain's need for closure and positive reinforcement. The other person leaves feeling good about the interaction, which was your goal all along. Now let's address phone conversations, because they're even trickier. You don't have body language or physical cues to help you. The key here is the purpose acknowledgement technique. Circle back to the original purpose of the call. "Well, I am glad I called to check on you," or "I wanted to make sure I got that information from you, and I did, so I'll let you go." Notice the phrase "let you go" instead of "I have to go." This subtle language shift makes it seem like you're releasing them rather than escaping, which feels less like rejection to the other person's subconscious mind. Let's talk about the power of the honest redirect. Sometimes the most effective way to end a conversation is simple honesty paired with a future connection point. Say something like, "I need to wrap up, but I'd love to continue this conversation later. Can we grab coffee next week?" Or, "I have to run, but text me that article you mentioned." This works because you're replacing the ending with a beginning. You're closing this interaction but opening a future one, which tells the other person's brain that you value them and the relationship continues beyond this moment. Body language plays a crucial role too. Start shifting your position about 30 seconds before you actually want to leave. Turn your body slightly away, take a small step back, or if you're sitting, lean forward slightly as if preparing to stand. These micro movements send subconscious signals that the conversation is winding down, and most people will naturally start wrapping up their thoughts. This is called nonverbal priming, and it's incredibly effective because it happens below the conscious level of awareness. Here's something most people get wrong: the false exit. This is when you say goodbye, but then you or the other person starts a whole new topic, and you're stuck for another 10 minutes. To prevent this, use the definitive statement combined with immediate action. Say your closing line, then immediately start moving. Don't pause for long after saying goodbye, because pauses create space for one more thing. Keep your goodbye brief, warm, and decisive. Think of it like removing a bandage. Quick and confident is less painful than slow and hesitant. Finally, let's discuss the group conversation exit, which is the Mount Everest of conversational endings. The key here is the Irish goodbye in a modified form. The traditional Irish goodbye means leaving without saying anything, but that can seem rude. Instead, Use the Wevandanas technique during a natural lull. Wait for a moment when someone else is talking or when there's a brief pause. Give a small wave, make eye contact with the group, and say, "Hey everyone, I'm heading out." Great, seeing you all. Then leave promptly. Don't go around to each person individually, unless it's a small gathering of close friends. The psychology here is that you're acknowledging everyone without creating multiple mini goodbyes that trap you. Remember, the key to all of this is practice. Your brain will resist at first because these techniques feel unfamiliar, but with repetition, they'll become natural. Start with low-stakes conversations and work your way up. The more you practice, confident, graceful, exists, the more your brain will learn that ending conversations doesn't damage relationships. In fact, people will respect you more for valuing both your time and theirs. So go ahead, start implementing these techniques today, and watch how much smoother your social interactions become. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.